Jon Butler, so good to hear you. Sound great.
Thanks.
Welcome back. It seems like it's been such a long journey from the days when you were busking on the street, and then now to playing in front of huge crowds all around the world. But then we get to hear you play solo, and it's like, wow, it hasn't really changed that much. You're still the one-man band. You can still do it. You can still
got it.
You still got it, man.
Yeah.
You still got it. You don't need any of the extra stuff.
Yeah,
it sounds great.
It's fun. It's fun. I'm gonna come back. I think next year, the year after, and do a big solo tour.
Yeah.
The drummer got sick in Europe about a month ago, and we were about to cancel 4 shows, and I did 4 shows like that, and it was so much fun.
Yeah. Well, not everybody can do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, Nick.
I'm
They
telling
can't.
you. I mean, of course, they'd have to practice a little. Yeah. So I mentioned something about your first guitar being the one that your grandma had given you that used to belong to your grandfather. Is that right? It was an old dobro from the 30s or something like that?
Yeah, it is.
And this was your grandfather who was killed in a fire, right?
Yeah, in 1958, January 2nd, 1958, there was a massive bushfire in a small town called Nannup, Western Australia, southwest Western Australia. And the fires were 5 stories high kind of thing, and him and 3 other men didn't return.
Yeah.
He left 8 children behind, the eldest being 10, the youngest being 1. Greek-Bulgarian immigrant wife that he met in Alexandria in World War II in Egypt. And so she was like, and they were actually 20 minutes drive, or maybe 30 minutes drive in an older car, out of Nannup in a place called Willow Springs. So you can imagine the day after New Year's, and all of a sudden there's a widow with 8 kids,
right.
The love of her life gone. And anyways, he played slide guitar.
Where was your dad in the lineup of those kids?
He was 9. He was the second oldest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild. So when you got that guitar, did you know that story about your grandfather dying in the fire and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, it's like family legend.
So it came to you with all this baggage and all this weight in a way.
It was
it's heavy, right?
It's funny because the story goes, my grandmother Philippa, who I call Mum because I was born in the States, and so it's a long story. You meant to call her Yaya, but I call her Mum because she was my Aussie mum. So Mum said to all 8 kids, whoever learns how to play their dad's guitar, or learns how to play guitar will get dad's guitar. And none of them learned. Everybody tried. It stayed at everybody's house for a little while as they're adults, and no one got it. And then I being named after my grandfather, no real relation to the guitar thing, but like, I just kind of stumbled across like Excalibur stuck in a rock. You know, it was like, I was like, whoa, I don't know. And so I started playing when I was 16, and I didn't want the guitar. I didn't.
Wild.
I wasn't really into blues or Hawaiian or country or any of that kind of stuff. And
what were you listening to?
Hendrix, Hendrix, and then Beastie Boys and The Cure and The Smiths. And, it was just anything that was different to everybody else at school who wanted to beat me up. So, it's just like, whatever you're listening to, I'm not. And I'm over here with the freaks. But yeah, so just rambling, sorry. But
no,
So when I was 16, I got given this guitar, and I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, oh, that's way too much for me. And I actually had a teacher at the time who was... who kind of put me right off guitar playing. So I'd actually quit guitar for about 6 months or so. I was like, he stopped teaching me, and he kept on teaching all my friends, and I was just like... but within that time, I got this dobro guitar, so I'm just sitting here going, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, you figured it out. And just for those listening...
Thanks.
Those listening on the radio, you can sort of imagine what the hand gestures were there just a few seconds ago. The visual cue.
I'm trying to be polite. I've been on the road for like almost 3 months, and I got like the pirate mouth.
No, it's
right
good. We're in good shape here. I want to, because for me, I had to like try to convince my parents that getting a guitar was going to be okay, and then and they were like, well, good luck. I had to sweep. I got a job like sweeping along the swimming pool at a country club so I could save up a little money to buy a guitar. And so for me, it didn't come with any It wasn't heavy. It wasn't like, didn't come with any baggage or expectation. It was like an easier way in, but in some ways, you know, we both found the passion through the guitar, which is cool.
Yeah.
As a young person, it sure helped me out.
Best friend.
Let me shift gears a little. I know that recently you talked about something that I thought was really cool. You're talking about how you've got all this success, you've got all this entourage, you've got a band, you've got people working for you.
Do not have an entourage. I don't know what he's talking about.
But what you were saying, man. What you were saying was that you still have a boss, and the boss is the song. Like basically your gig is you work for the song, and the song says, "Okay, man, here's what you have to do," and you have to do that.
Yeah, song is boss. The more I really learn about songwriting, the less I know, and I've tried to make songs what I think they should be a lot of times, and kind of ruin them, or they're kind of not as good as they could be, and I just feel like song is boss. I work for the song, whatever song wants, song gets. And so if song wants it to be on a synthesizer with programmed drums, because that's what song wants, then that's what song gets. And then if it wants, there's sometimes I think like, okay, at the back end, I'm going to shred all over this. It's going to be awesome. And the song's like, no, you're not. No, you're not, because that sounds crap over this right now. Okay. So, I just try to remember that I've forced enough of myself onto songs.
Yeah.
And I'm ready just to listen to them.
Yeah.
They're also, just to ramble on a bit, I know you want to keep it tight, but they're also.
How do you know that?
They're also like wild creatures that I understand. And you want to bring the wild creatures into the city to show people how wild and beautiful they are, not how broken they've gotten since you've been dragging them in.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you want them to be by your side, not in a cage, so that they can be themselves. Now, along the way, though, you've had songs that either you've forced them or they've come to you that have been about different causes and things you sung about, injustices, and you've certainly played a lot of benefits for all kinds of different causes. Do you see that connection as being harder as a songwriter to sort of infuse? I was talking before about the crazy times we live in, and challenges around the world. Particularly in Australia, you think about climate change seems very real there. Lots more fires these days, and temperature changes and so on. But also, just you've done benefits for the coral reef. You've played for indigenous people. You've played for help creative people in Australia. Do you find when you try to mix the cause and the song, it gets along okay, or is it harder?
It got along great at the start when I didn't know a lot about songwriting, and I just said whatever was on my mind. But the more I know about songwriting and the more I've written those kind of songs, it gets harder and harder. It's hard to write a song about climate change and not sound completely cheesy.
Right.
Yeah. I think we as listeners have also become a little bit more sophisticated. I mean, there has been, there's been blowing in the wind, and there's Dylan sang the song, so many of the songs, and Rage Against the Machine sang so many of the songs, and it's like, I find it, to be honest, I find it a little bit trite. Mm-hmm. If you're like, we need to do something about this now, time's running out, let's down with the man, everybody let's go and save the trees. Like, if you write it like that, it's just like, and I used to write like that. Like, I straight up, I have a song called Trees, and I wrote it like that.
Yeah.
And I wish I could just take the guitar, because I love the guitar, and I can't stand the vocals. I meant well, but I think the more, I don't know, I think you have to be really sophisticated, and
It's tough, man. It's really hard, and I think it's rare.
I did write a song about climate change. It just didn't. But song once again said no. I thought the lyrics were great. I was like, yeah, I did this without sounding like a cheeseball. And but yeah, the production wasn't right, and the song just didn't.
But you can still do a benefit. You can still raise money. You can still help people out. You can still lend a hand from time to time.
Yeah,
and do love songs, or do the songs that you feel like singing wherever they are.
The more I've thought about it, the more I realize I don't think it's about necessarily what you say, but the intention with how you say it. And when I've been in the audience and I've gotten the chills, that's like the apex moment. That's just like, woo, it's happening. And I feel divinity, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, connectivity, oneness. I feel that when I get the chills. I also when I get the chills outside of a gig. And so I realize now, for me, it's not about writing the next protest song. It's actually just to give them the chills. Remind them and remind yourself that we're part of something bigger and something wondrous and mysterious. And amongst all the screens and the crap that's going on right now, that there's wonder, and there's divinity, you know? And that's, you know, so you can be going, come on, baby, come on, and then give them the chills, or you'd be like, hey, the times are changing, whatever it is. Like, as long as you give them the chills, then at least once a show, if you can do that, awesome.
This sounds like the words of a guy who's been spending some time chilling out in nature. So, a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say a little bit, not enough.
I know you've been on the road. For 3 months, but you did kind of move to the country near a river, right?
Yeah.
So you've changed your scene, and that's where you made this last record.
Yeah.
Home. And what's it like? Do you have gardens? You have some land around you? What's it look like?
Oh yeah, I live on 7 acres on a place called the Margaret River, or the river called Margaret River, or what the indigenous people call Wujudup Bila. And yeah, when I moved from LA to Australia, I moved to a small country town called Pinjarra, and luckily there was a river flowing through that backyard, and I lived on an acre, and that river, like, was my mate. That saved me from intense xenophobia and all kinds of the shit that was going on in Pinjarra. And so when my wife and I decided, I think we need to go back. We live such an urban lifestyle. Like, we live in a bus and a car park most of the time. So when we're off the road, let's get some greenery and some space. And it's been a beautiful thing. And yeah, we have gardens. I spent a year off the road working my butt off because I'm a bit of a workaholic. And so I made some beautiful gardens. I made a chook shed and workshop and made some knives. And, you know, I made some friends, man. I made some friends. That's pretty awesome.
Some neighbors.
Try it sometime.
Yeah.
Wacky.
And this record, from what I could tell, just the process of being at home and going through this process of kind of resettling, seems like it kind of ironically brought up a bunch of stuff that you had to kind of digest as you made this record come into existence.
Yeah.
You know, work through some stuff.
Yeah, it kind of tackled me, like, from out of the blue. I was like, Svenja! And it was like, all I can describe it as is like, I've been running for so long, and I thought I'd smoked everybody. I'm like, they can't find me. I'm clean. And then I slow down, and I'm like, okay, no one's chasing me. And they just went, gotcha. And yeah, it was, I mean, it's too long to talk about. It's an existential kind of, you know, like, it's fractal kind of stuff, but it's, it was real.
I mentioned at the top that you guys, both you and Eliza, are kind of, you're awake and you're seekers, and you're using this muse, this opportunity to write songs and sing and perform as best you can to try to sort things out, you know, and that's what art is about. That's what, you know, there's a great Einstein quote about an artist has one hand in the universe and one hand on the earth, and their job is to channel that energy between the two. Mm-hmm. And if you're awake enough and aware enough, then you're going to feel and go through all that stuff if you're trying to make good art. It's just the way it works.
Yeah.
So it feels like that. Again, the record's called Home. It was cut there. It was made in your studio, right? Or was it somewhere else? No,
it was actually made on the other side of the country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was so ironic how songs wanted to be boss. Songs just were it was a tricky boss.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, go to my studio with my band. And it ended up being like on the other side of the country, not in my studio, not with my band.
Wild.
Very, very little with my band.
Wild.
Yeah, it was very odd.
Was it awkward as you had to sort of translate for the song? Say to your band, hey, the song says you're out.
Yeah, and that was a hard thing to do because I always want to make everybody, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I'm always pedantically skirting around it. But it just took me by surprise. I think, to be frank, you know, anxiety really kind of got a grip of me about a couple of years ago when I got off the road, and I'm being frank about it because I feel like being honest about it diffuses the poison of it more than keeping it secret and being stoic and strong, so to speak. I think it's stronger to speak about it. And I was so sensitive during the recording process. There was just so many opinions flying around, and I just couldn't think straight. And I was just like, everybody needs to get the hell out of here so I could just do this and get this vision out. And I produced a lot of the music by myself on my iPad and stuff, and so I had a really distinct idea what I wanted. I wasn't going, hey, what do you think of this riff?
Right.
Tell me what you think.
jam.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't that way. It was like there were very specific parts, and all of a sudden I just needed to get that out before anybody else was going to stick their 2 cents in. And it was, but it wasn't exactly how I thought it was going to go.
Well, you know, the idea, and everybody knows this, because when you follow someone's career, you're with them, and you're with them on that journey, and that journey takes the artists to different places, and they make different sounding records, and they write different sounding songs, and they collaborate with different people. So that's the great kind of window that gets opened up when you follow an artist, because you're along for the ride. So I know that just as a listener and as somebody who's paid attention to you for a little bit, this is a cool transition, and congratulations on making a really good sounding record.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's really
a lot.
cool.
It means a lot coming from you. I'm really happy to be here.
Thanks, Jon. Listen, we've got lots more music to get to. Once again, thanks for stopping by, and welcome back, if you would, Jon Butler.
Hi, this is Nick Forster from eTown. If you want to stay up to date with all the performances, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage, click the subscribe button. Thanks.